So if Ford has been able to squeeze over 700 horsepower out of the F-150 Raptor R, their largest, most powerful, most hardcore pickup truck, then why haven't they done the same thing with their smallest offering, the Ford Maverick? Well, the Lobo answers this. Okay, so it doesn't do exactly that. The Lobo doesn't have any more power than any of the other Maverick trim levels. However, it serves a completely different purpose than all the other trims, just like the Raptor R serves a completely different purpose, a ridiculous, almost unjustifiable purchase over some of the F-150 trims, right? The Lobo behind me is a throwback to the 80s, 90s, and for me, the mid-2000s sport truck culture that we all kind of grew up on, maybe some of us. And traditionally, all of those trucks, including like the first gen F-150 Lightning, they were compact trucks. The F-150 was a lot smaller back then. The S10 had the extreme version. They were traditionally just lowered sport trucks that were supposed to, in theory, handle better than a factory truck or the lifted versions of those same trucks. Although a lot of those were just slammed on airbags with 12-inch subs in the back, but you get the point. The sun's coming out. You can see a little bit of flake in the blue paint here, Velocity Blue. Not as much as some of Ford's other colors in previous models. I initially thought this was actually, what do they call it, Boost Blue or Lightning Blue, whatever the Focus RS came in when they still were making that, dun dun dun. But it's not, it's a different color here. It's a little bit darker, I think, but that's besides the point. The Lobo is lowered. That's the first indication that this is the street truck performance variant of this truck. The second indication are these turbofan wheels. This is the best. This is awesome. Ford, you walk up to this thing and immediately the color, the bumpers are a little bit different. The rear bumper's painted versus the other trims that kind of a black plastic. It gives off this, hey, we're not taking ourselves too seriously with this truck, and they shouldn't. So it's about ½ an inch lower in the front than, let's say, an XLT or any standard Maverick, and then it's about 1.1 inches lower in the rear compared to stock. So it's not slammed, but again, it's the beginnings of what could be an exceptional street truck with actually pretty decent performance. The Lobo also gets, you can see, fog lights down here, which the other trims do not get. And then of course it's got its own distinct grille here. A lot of the grills are different trim to trim. That's kind of how you tell them apart for the most part, the Tremor especially. And just like up here on the hood, the view out of the hood is awesome. You've got fairly aggressive lines in the hood, nothing crazy. It is an incredibly small truck. This one's spec'd with the black roof. And before I forget, there are a second set of wheels you can spec. That's not the move, you guys. If you're gonna go Lobo, you just need to sink in. Now, if we come around to the back, obviously we can see it's got the cab and 4 doors here. I wish it just came in an extended cab. None of the Mavericks do. They all have the 4.5 foot bed back here as well. It's not the end of the world. I get it. This is a unibody vehicle. It's not body on frame. So therefore, a lot of people who buy this are not going to be towing massive trailers and stuff like that. And the payloads they're putting in the bed are not going to be huge. But it would be cool to see a longer bed and really give that street truck vibe, because a lot of those older street trucks, they didn't have 4 doors. Let's go drive. Man, this shit is messing with my pictures. How sick is this color? This is the only way I would spec the Lobo. There's not many options, but I mean, it's already lowered. It's already got the turbofan wheels. You may as well go full blue. All right, definitely not a V8. Under the hood is a 2-liter inline-4 EcoBoost engine, of course, 250 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. On some of the other variants of the Maverick, you are able to spec this engine. Of course, there's also a hybrid. If you're looking for a hybrid, if you're looking for fuel economy, I don't know. I'm not going to review that for you guys. There's other videos out there. Go find them. The EcoBoost, it's got torque. it's a perfectly fine engine. Now, key difference here is the 8-speed in all the other Mavericks is traded up for a 7-speed. And this one has paddle shifters, where all the other Mavericks do not. So that's a big difference. I've been driving this truck for a week. In my experience, just leave it in auto. It actually does a pretty good job. It's not obviously a dual clutch. There is a delay with the paddle shifters. There goes a lowered Colorado, it looked like. See, other people get the idea. Ford, I don't know if they've started the trend, started the comeback, began the wave of nostalgia here in 2025, or whether they're just following others. Not sure. I don't really care though. It'll rev match the downshifts. The transmission's actually pretty good. Best part is turbo noises. Turbo noises. Build a little bit of boost, let off the throttle. You have to have the music off. It's very faint. There's a little bit of a note from the exhaust. It's pretty good. It's got a deep kind of tone to it. It's not loud though, it's not obnoxious. And it's a tiny little turbo, so you feel the torque ramp up. You feel the turbo spool up. There are a few drive modes here. There's a selector on the steering wheel, which is not the most responsive. So if you put it in sport, it will just keep the revs up higher. If you want to get decent fuel economy, which this does get, about 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers or 24 miles per gallon, then you're just gonna leave it in either eco or normal, and it'll sit at 1500 RPM all day long. But so I did mention the lowered suspension. It is sport tuned, so it is a little bit stiffer. The spring rates are a little bit different. The damping's been tuned to kind of corner a little bit better. In fact, if I go back to the drive modes, this is hilarious. The more I drive it, the more I find it's actually a pretty fully thought out package. So we have Lobo drive mode, spirited closed course driving. If you buy a Maverick, please DM me on Instagram at Roads Untraveled and send me videos, send me photos of you driving your Maverick on the track. Now it does say track use only. All right, we're in Lobo mode. We're gonna do a little bit of a launch here. You just brake boost. That gearbox is smooth. 0 to 60 happens in about 6 seconds. Just after 2000 RPM, the turbo starts to spool up. And at the top end, you just get a rush of air. It's not too rewarding to rev out. It's got more of a diesel power band than anything. It's play in the mid-range, shift by 5500. It's good. It's actually kind of fun. And it powers out of corners pretty well. Like I mentioned, this is a unibody construction vehicle. It shares the same platform as the Escape, and so of course the engine's transverse mounted. It's not a rear bias setup. This is so strange. So although Lobos are standard all-wheel drive, all trims, it can only send up to 50% of the power, or torque I should say, to the rear wheels. Just grip. Immediately there's grip. It is strange though that Ford decided to spec these with Wrangler tires. They're not performance tires at all. They're 225s all the way around, 19-inch wheels. So a grippier tire would go a long way, but throttle calibration's great. Steering's good. there's actually a decent amount of feel here. It's just the turbo noises. It really has a bit of hot hatch feel to it, as much as, you know, a Ford Maverick could have. But, you know, here following a Ford Escape, man, I fell asleep when I drove the Ford Escape. And I get that. That's a daily. That's what most people are just looking for. But in the diff back there, we do have a real torque vectoring differential. That's pulled straight from the Tremor. So it's got a multi-disc clutch back there. Real torque vectoring, sending torque to either the left or right wheel to help power out of the corners. What they've also done is they've stolen a few Ford catalog parts from cars we actually don't get here. You guys remember the Focus ST? I know you guys remember the Focus RS, but the Focus ST, the front wheel drive variant, the hot hatch from Ford, they're just about to cease production of that over in Europe. They took the 2-piston brakes from that vehicle and put it on the Lobo instead of the factory 1-piston, single-piston brakes up there, which is not a lot, even for a 3,800-pound truck. So they've done that. They've also taken the steering rack out of a European Ford model that we don't get here. It's effectively what we call the Escape. It's got a quicker steering rack than factory. Does this feel like a hot hatch? No, but this is as close to a hot hatch as Ford is selling here in North America in 2025. This is as close to a Ford Focus RS you can get in North America from Ford. That is the biggest joke. I mean, that is comical. All right, there we go. Back, coming around a little bit, rotating. It definitely errs on the side of understeer. That's a given. But the extra grip that you get with all-wheel drive powering out of a corner, it's really good. For a truck, it also rides really smooth. It's a stiff crossover. That's what it feels like. And a stiff crossover, you guys, is a lot more comfortable on a daily basis than a normal body-on-frame pickup truck. Seats are good. They're really comfortable. Typical Ford cushiness. They really do like the American comfort thing well. It's great. I mean, the interior is cool. This is the first Maverick I've ever driven, so you've got these kind of Allen key bolts that are exposed, some blue accents here and there. It's, you know, you're still sitting in, at the end of the day, a entry-level pickup truck, so you feel that kind of in most of the materials. Heated steering wheel here. We've got heated seats. Ford has the hottest heated seats I've felt. Wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, of course. And it just works. Climate is here, all on the screen. We can pop up the bigger menu here, and we get, you know, defrost, AC, that kind of thing. But most of the controls are just one button press. It's easy to use. We also have, of course, wireless charging. Your park reverse neutral drive is down here. A part of me that's thinking back to the 90s and the early 2000s, I want the stick on the steering column. A part of me, just when you get in, click, 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 it's the best. It's that those little tactile, you know, I'm reminiscing. Okay, let's move on. The center screen here, the gauge cluster, it's great, easy to read. I wish they would give us a big tack. You cannot customize it so there's just a big tack in the center of the screen. That would put me over the edge. That would be awesome, just to not have to look down. You know, interior's good, comfortable, visibility's awesome. You don't get a manual transmission. Dun, dun, dun. And that's where the Maverick Lobo is like, it's really good. It's an awesome package. I love that Ford's done this. They should go the extra mile. If this had, and I could say this about any number of vehicles for a daily, but if this had 350 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, that would be seriously fun. You know, this isn't a truck that's gonna make you burst out laughing after you come out of a tight, twisty section of road. Maybe at an empty parking lot, maybe at autocross, but not on a twisty mountain road. It's good, it handles awesome. It's probably the best handling pickup truck from the factory I've ever driven as far as a street truck. Now, it's not saying much because there aren't many, but you get what I'm saying. It doesn't go with that extra tenth to really deliver an experience that Ford fans are going to go out of their way to find in the used market 10, 15, 20 years from now. And I don't think in that way it represents Ford as well as like the classics, the SVT Lightning and all that stuff. It wasn't supposed to though, and that's the kicker. I just have high hopes for trucks like this, and it's a great package. So let me know what you guys think. Will Ford ever build like the next generation Lightning? No, not that Lightning. A real Lightning, an SVT Lightning with a manual? Probably not. Probably not. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. Great truck. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're still reminiscing, we just came out with a bunch of Gran Turismo merch not a bunch, but Need for Speed Underground 2 and Gran Turismo themed apparel pieces. They're on our store. The link is in the description. We'll see you soon.